Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So for today, our group will discuss or present the topic which is about the corruption of knowledge. So firstly, I will go with the introduction. The knowledge or al-ilm, it means that it is sacred trust from Allah in Islam. So by seeking knowledge, it enables human being to understand Allah far more better, and it also fulfill their duties as a khalifah. Not only that, it also bring a success in this life and the hereafter. Allah said in Surah Al-Mujadilah verse 11, which Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Yarfa'illahu alladhina amanu minkum walladhina utul ilma darajat, which means in this ayah Allah significantly said that Allah will raise those who have believed among you and those who are given knowledge. So we have to address and understanding the problem of the corruption of knowledge, which is crucial for us to revive the intellectual of Muslim Ummah and the spiritual strength. So without further ado, I will go with the definition of the knowledge. So for the definition, Al-Atas states that the recognition and acknowledgement, it progressively instill into man of the proper places of things in order of creation, such that it leads to the recognition and acknowledgement of the proper place of God in the order of being and existence, which means that the true education is not just about skills or information, but it's about to cultivate the wisdom by right action, and ultimately it orients back to the soul towards the God and the truth. So the corruption of knowledge, it occurs when knowledge is being distorted or being manipulated for other purposes other than serving Allah and seeking the truth. So we go on with the importance of knowledge in Islam. So the knowledge, which al-ilm, it is fundamental pillars of Islamic civilization, which it is essential for the individual development and the societal progress. So the Quran and Hadith has repeatedly commanded Muslims to seek knowledge because it's showing that learning is an obligatory, it is a religious obligation, not just a worldly pursuit. So Islam does not separate religious knowledge from worldly knowledge. Both are seen as interconnected and must be directed towards understanding Allah's creation and fulfilling His commands. So we move on with the next, which is the forms of knowledge corruption, which divide for four. Which the first one is the misinterpretation of religious texts. The second one is the political manipulation of knowledge. The third one is the westernization of education and post-colonial reactions. So for the misinterpretation of religious texts, we can see that the scholars or group may twist the religious text to support their personal political ideologies agendas, distorting the original message of them. For the political manipulation of knowledge, we can see that the religious leader and government may manipulate the knowledge to maintain power, distorting the religious or historical facts to justify their action and policies.
In Islam, knowledge is sacred and bring Muslims to the truth and guidance. But the knowledge is corrupted when the purpose of knowledge is lost, when the knowledge is only used for material gain, when the display of personality and creativity, and when it becomes weak and lifeless. So corruption began to take place when Muslims when Muslims become taklid instead of ijtihad, thinking about the knowledge. So knowledge is not about information, but it's about seeking Allah's pleasure and applying in every of our action from the Muslim knowledge or Islam knowledge. So how blind taklid corrupt the knowledge is when confusion between sacred and man-made knowledge. For example, people don't want to buy the vending machine don't want to buy the vending machine because it against the mazhab Syafi'i. They don't have the adat of jual beli, which is saya beli dan saya jual. So for the second one is willingness to engage for the knowledge. For example, some people say that science is a sihir, so this will impact the Muslim world that behind the Western world, so we can go forward and bring more knowledge. The third one is laziness of thought. Some school encourage memorize more than understanding. For example, like Mohammad, they encourage the student more to memorize rather to understand the knowledge. Threat to Muslim world from corruption of knowledge. First one is the decay of intellect. This happens when the Muslim world lack creativity, knowledge about the technology. This will lead the Islamic civilization behind the Western civilization and the loss of scholars like Al-Hawarizmi. The second one is the cultural failure. This happens when the Muslim world lost faith in the Muslim culture and follow the Western culture and ideologies. For example, the LGBT, where Muslim world think that LGBT is a human right instead of prohibition from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Solution: how to meet the corruption of knowledge. First one is bringing creativity back to life. For example, the school can teach the student how to understand Quran, Hadith or any Islamic law instead of just memorize it and just memorize the Quran but not understand anything. The second one is to update the Islamic institution. For example, they can update the curriculum by adding the subject philosophy, sociology in addition of Quran and Hadith, so they can generate Muslim scholars that can represent the Muslim in this world. The third one is to provide the source of knowledge. The Muslim has to update the system by distinguish between fake narrative and true narrative in the Hadith, so they can eliminate the any doubtful or fake narrative. So the knowledge is sacred and not corrupt.
Moving on to my parts, another form of corruption of knowledge in the Muslim world is the loss of adab towards knowledge. But before we dive into this issue, it's important to understand what adab truly means. Many of us are familiar with the terms, but only a few actually apply it into our daily lives. The concept of adab in knowledge means understanding the proper order, purpose and use of knowledge in Islam. It helps us see knowledge as means to understand the world in a way that aligns with divine truth. The role of adab in our daily life is creating an ethical foundation for how we pursue knowledge. It connects knowledge to truth and ensure that knowledge serves a moral purpose. Without adab, Muslim education becomes disconnected from its spiritual roots, leading to confusion and also corruption. Moving on to the next part, I'm going to talk about the hierarchy of knowledge. In Islam, the knowledge of Allah is the highest worldly knowledge. Allah is the highest worldly knowledge. It's just like the science or technology. It is important, but bear in mind it is considered lower because it should serve Allah's will and help humanity. Purpose of adab in education is it helps put the virtue in life, uphold the justice and fulfill our role as Allah Khalifa of Allah. Education should create good and responsible individual. Finally, it is to be rightful place of knowledge. We should seek knowledge sincerely and within the ethical conduct and religious guidelines. Besides that, we have to preserve knowledge because it is essential to prevent corruption through proper educational methods, protecting against misuse, distortion and secular influence. Aligning with the truth, knowledge should also guided by adab, it reflects divine realities, helping us to understand the truth from Allah and live by His guidance. Other than that, it is also the forming upright character. Adab nurtures us to discipline of both the soul and the mind, ensuring intellectual and good moral growth. Finally, promoting justice and in order. Knowledge grounded in adab builds a strong and just society and fosters social harmony and ethical leadership. Moving on to the next part, secularization occurs when knowledge is detached from religion. Detached in here means divided or divorced or separated. It would lead to confusion as it loses its spiritual and ethical context. Besides that, people also using knowledge as materialistic pursuits, taking over education when knowledge is sought for wealth and fame and power without considering its moral impact. Beyond that, it is also leads to misinterpretation of truth. It happens when the loss of a metaphysical foundations allows false ideology to spread, and people will justifying falsehood and moral relativism. Finally, disruption of educational objective occurs when adab is neglected, resulting in a loss of holistic development, wisdom, which is hikmah, and a sense of responsibilities. Without adab, knowledge loses its sacredness and purpose in the society. This is why knowledge can shift from being a path to enlightenment to becoming a source of corruption and also confusion. The Quran reminds us Allah will raise those who believe among you and those who have been given knowledge by degrees. The Quran reminds us that Allah will raise those who believe among you and those who have been given
knowledge by degrees. Knowledge must strengthen faith, virtue, and promote justice, all under divine guidance. Another verse in Quran, specifically Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 17, human knowledge is like the foam of the sea. It doesn't matter who you are, either a Dini student, professor, or even a prime minister. In the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are all just a tiny little creature. Therefore, we should always maintain respect for the source of knowledge and respect for those who teach it. This respect keeps the knowledge pure and pure.
Okay, my name is Muhammad Haikal bin Bilezan, and I will continue to discuss about the topic corruption of knowledge in the Muslim world. Okay, the first point is the influence of external epistemologies leading to the conceptual confusion. So this can be explained when the imposition or terms from the Western philosophical without a proper observation from the Islamic perspective can make a misinterpretation for the Islamic core concept. This will manifest a disconnect between the unique Islamic traditional and the modern principle, possibly will erode all the contribution from Islam to the Muslim world. The second point is the erosion in adab and ethical framework in knowledge. For example, a decline in emphasis on the adab, encompassing proper conduct, respect on the teacher, and the ethical responsibility on sharing the knowledge will also contribute to the corruption in the knowledge itself. Because of this problem, it will lead to manipulation, misconduct of the knowledge, and even the commodification of the knowledge for a personal gain or power. Third point is the weakening in the tradition, scholar authority, and methodology. The explanation is the role of establishing the scholar authority and methodology nowadays are superficial and more to the political motivated interpretation. This thing will cause more damage in the corruption of the knowledge. From this problem, it will result on the adding up the qualification of unqualified individual in making the religion opinion or even making an opinion in the education institute. Fourth point is the impact of socio-political factors on the integrity of the knowledge. Things like political agenda, sectarianism, and the social pressure within the Muslim society will also contribute to the corruption of the knowledge, and from this problem it will lead to the many problems such as a birth of the biased narrative or even the general environment that the pursuit of the knowledge will be compromised. For the last point is the challenge in maintaining academic integrity in education institution. So as highlighted by Akbar and Picard 2020, things like cheating, plagiarism, and pressure in the education institution setting will undermine the integrity of the knowledge itself. So this thing, not only it can devalue the genuine scholarship, but it also will contribute to a broader culture where the honest pursuit of the knowledge and education will be compromised.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Haikal Fahmi, and now I will continue the presentation. So the next one is corruption of knowledge in politics. In Islam, knowledge is a sacred trust meant to guide society toward justice, truth, and righteousness. However, when knowledge is corrupted, especially within politics, it becomes a dangerous tool for manipulation. Corruption of knowledge in politics occurs when religious teaching or educational content are distorted to serve the interests in those in power. Instead of promoting justice and accountability, knowledge is used to justify oppression, maintain control, and mislead the public. This is not only betrays Islamic values, but also poses a serious threat to the moral and intellectual strength of the Muslim Ummah. So the next one is, how is corruption of knowledge in politics become a threat for Muslims? So the first one is weaken faith and trust in religious leadership. So when fatwas are politically motivated, Muslims lose trust in scholars and institutions. This led to confusion, disunity, and spiritual decline. For example, government-controlled fatwas supporting unjust policies have caused public mistrust in several Muslim majorities countries. The second threat is misrepresent Islam as a tool of oppression. So political misuse of Islamic knowledge present Islam as unjust and backward. This will damage the religion's image both internally and globally. As for evidence, Quran promotes justice in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 8, but manipulated teaching give the opposite impression. So how do we tackle this issue? So we've come up with two solutions. The first one is promote ethical, independent Islamic scholarship. This means that train scholars to be morally strong and free from political influence, and encourage examples like Imam Abu Hanifah and Imam Malik, who upheld truth over political pressure. The second solution is educate the public with authentic Islamic knowledge. So the point is launch public program to teach core Islamic values, justice, which is adil, truth, and consultation, and inform public can resist manipulation and protect the true message of Islam.